Hey guys, I just showered. My hair is an atrocious mess, so I feel like I always have a disclaimer. Like, I never really mind the way I look, but I feel like you guys come on here maybe expecting some polished looking person for some reason. But yeah, that's never what you're gonna get. So, hello. Welcome to the apocalypse. I'm just kidding. Kind of. So, we're making bread today in the end of the world. I promise I'll stop making fun of it. So, how is everyone doing? I'm waiting for a couple more people to hop on. All y'all are home, so where are you? Hello. How's everyone holding up at the end of the world? I'm going to send a reminder to the chat. So I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to make this bread. Now, the instructions that I have for you guys have the mixer because I had not used the mixer. What we're going to make, hey girl. What we're going to make today is a yeasted bread, and you're going to see the reason I suggest the mixer is because it's the dough's kind of tough to mix in the yolks and the yeast mixture, which I'll show you. So it's just easier with a mixer. But if you need it by hand, you can incorporate it. It's just going to take a little bit more elbow grease. So let's start with our yeast. Now, I love working with yeast. I always have. When I was in culinary school, I loved making yeasted donuts, yeasted pastries, bread, my favorite. And it's just because it's kind of magical. There's something about, the chemical just interaction that happens is really cool to me. And I was thinking, so the concept is that yeast eats whatever sugar is with it. And the gas that it releases, ultimately it farts. So the gas that it farts out actually puffs up the pastry or the bread or whatever and gives it that rise. Now, gluten is what's in it that actually maintains that structure. So that's what gives it, when it rises, it holds that shape. If you notice with a lot of low carb baking, it may rise and look great in the oven and then it falls flat because we don't have that structure in there with the gluten. So we use things like xanthan gum, which helps keep things together and not separate. So it makes something nice and, bound together like a dough. We've used psyllium husk flour, which, as I've told you guys, is a fiber that helps build structure a little bit. But I'm not too crazy about it. And then, there's flour, gluten, good old gluten, that gives the structure. So what can we use to replace that? I love working with egg yolks when I'm working with gluten-free or low-carb baking. And the reason is egg yolks are a very strong protein. If you've ever seen, of course you've seen it, in boiled eggs, you see how solid the egg yolk gets? So when you use egg yolk in pastry, or bread, it adds that texture and it holds the shape, much like gluten. Not the same way, so it's never going to be that really airy kind of like Italian bread that's really firm. But the other breads we eat, like sandwich bread, dinner rolls, things like that, the yolk does a great job at keeping that structure. So first what we're going to do is we're going to start with yeast. So I have a 1/4 cup of warm water here, not hot. You want it warm because you want it to, I don't even know if this is warm anymore. I'm going to heat it up again. Hold on. But you want the water to be lukewarm, not too hot, because if it's too hot, it'll kill the yeast. It's okay. If it's too cold, the yeast won't activate properly. You can turn that off. So you want it so that when you dip your finger in it, it feels slightly warmer than body temp, okay? I'm going to take my yeast. I have a 1/2 packet here. I'm going to sprinkle it over. Got my sugar. Using a 1/2 teaspoon. And now you're probably like, oh my God, this chick tells us never to use sugar. But like I said, the yeast eats this up. So you don't have to worry about, it's not like you're eating sugar. There's actually no sugar in it because the yeast digests it. Pretty cool. So now you're stuck with this like gross kind of like slurry. Looks really nasty. You want to scrape the sides. Give it a stir. Okay. Now, this is going to continue rising and foaming up. It's really cool. It's like a science project. So I'm going to leave it here. You guys see I chipped my nails already. I just painted the other hand and I chipped them. This is why I don't do these things. But sometimes I like to look like got my shit together. So now what we're going to do, while the yeast is just sitting there, we're going to take our other stuff, our dry ingredients, our cheese. This is much like the only dough, right? But the only difference here is that there is 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum and there's coconut flour in here. When you're doing low carb, gluten-free baking, a lot of people always ask me, can I replace the almond flour with coconut flour? Because they don't really care for the taste of almond flour. In theory, it sounds like you should be able to, but the textures are very different. Coconut flour is great at creating more of a dense, cakey kind of consistency because it absorbs liquid really well. So if you've ever noticed, you mix some liquid with coconut flour and it like sops it up right away. That's what you want to think about these things when you're baking because they have an impact on the overall texture. Thank you, sous chef. He's awesome. I don't know how he's going to put up with me for my ADD ass for 2 weeks, but we'll see. Maybe more than 2 weeks, right? You said a month?
Yeah, probably. Who knows if we're going to go back this year.
There's going to be a lot of baked goods coming out of this house. So, coconut flour sops up a lot of liquid. Almond flour gives the shape, the structure, the dryness, if you will. You can even like flour your surface with almond flour, and it does a great job at helping things not stick. It's the most like flour you're going to get from a singular ingredient substitute. Gluten-free flours, I get asked all the time why we can't use those, and those of you who are new with me, it's because they are packed with carbs. They usually use cornstarch, tapioca starch, potato starch, rice flour, brown rice flour, corn in general, like cornmeal, sugar, and then additives for flavoring. So there, if you've ever noticed, in addition to the wonderful cinder block-like texture that you sometimes get, it's just, you can taste that flour really, really strongly, at least in my opinion, and it's not worth the carbs. So having the combo of almond and coconut flour here helps with texture, and it also helps kind of get rid of that overly almond taste that if you don't like the taste, stands out to you, which I know if I don't like something and it's in there, I can taste it a mile away. This stuff, like even people who I've given it to try who don't like almond flour, love it. So basically, only dough with coconut flour. The recipe is on Pudge page, and I believe I shared it to Academy as well, but I will after this. And that's it. So we're going to follow standard procedure. We're going to microwave for 40-second intervals, mix in between. See that? Remember, it was just like up down to here. This is going to get so much bigger. It's great. So, in addition to that, I have had bread proofing for a couple hours now just because I was getting stuff ready and showering and stuff. But when I put this bread amount in this bowl, first of all, do we see how it's like bubbling up the plastic wrap? When I put this in here at first, it was maybe a quarter of the size. That's just from the gas that's being released from the yeast that's causing that puffiness, which is that nice pillowy softness that we love. So, standard procedure. Mix this up. "40 seconds does nothing at first. I hate the first mix because I'm like, how do you even mix this? But yeah, we're gonna make dinner rolls tonight. Oh, I want to make an egg wash. So I'm gonna show you. I didn't include this in the recipe yet. I'm going to. good at baking. I'm good at teaching these kinds of things. I'm good at talking. I'm not exactly great at recipe writing, in case you guys haven't noticed that quite yet. But egg wash is really simple. It's 1 egg with a little bit of water whisked together. Damn shirt keeps coming untucked. So how's everyone doing? Talk to me. What are you guys doing to enjoy the moment at home? Let's make this a positive thing. What have you guys liked most? And if you're still working, I am so freaking sorry. I am hoping that things work out soon so that you can be able to be home. Shout out to our girl Shelby, who is on the friggin' front lines working at a grocery store nearby. I don't know how the hell you do it and you haven't clotheslined anyone yet, besides the risk of touching people. That's it. It's an egg wash. Just whisk till it's smooth. Check out the yeast. It's like the weirdest thing I've ever said to anyone. These are so good. You can even add some erythritol to it. I added powdered erythritol to it yesterday. And I made the little Majorca rolls that I'm always talking about and being obsessed with from Puerto Rico, as well as some sandwich bread. You can add different seasonings to it. Sesame seeds. I love onion powder and sea salt sesame seeds. So good. The egg wash technique I'm going to show you guys is going to give it the outside consistency of like a bread roll. It's going to be brown and kind of shiny. Here, I'll show you one of my rolls. You guys can see how shiny and nice and... Oh, look at this. Look at this texture. Nice and spongy. Look, it holds its shape. It's not like floppy. It's not dry. I'm just a little proud. Don't mind me. I'll take my Nobel Peace Prize award now. It's okay. For those of you who have never made the only dough before, if you can see within a few turns, a few mix-ins, I don't know. You know what I mean. After mixing it a bit, it starts to form a little dough. So I actually think, maybe one more. I'm gonna do this one for 20 seconds. I tried braiding it to make challah bread. That did not work because it doesn't have enough elasticity. So I'm gonna test around some more with that. I haven't tested out authentic French toast with the sliced bread yet. That's breakfast tomorrow. But yeah, no, these are really good. Really good. And you can convert this recipe and use it and make it a million ways. It's pretty quick to do, you know? Just like time consuming, but not work, like not effort consuming, if that makes sense. So you can easily just hang out, get a few batches of these done, and then have bread all week. So you see it's nice and incorporated. Okay, so my yeast has puffed up quite a bit. You can see, oh my God, dyslexic, I can't figure out how this works. Okay, but you see how puffy and foamy it is there? That's good. We want that, okay? But you're gonna dump the bread or the dough mix right in the bowl. This is gonna be loud. This is a warning. Oh, it's softer this time. Okay. Before the recipe came out, like, it was like really loud. You're gonna add your 2 egg yolks. And then you're gonna add your yeast. Now, if you were doing this by hand, remember, you can do this by hand. You just gotta knead the crap out of it. Let me show you why. So, remember I mentioned xanthan gum before. If this happens to you, it's just soupy, it's not going anywhere. I don't want to cook the egg yolks too much, so I'm gonna mix. Then don't worry. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that the xanthan gum is keeping the dough together. So you wanting to break that up and mix in 2 liquids, the egg yolks and the yeast, it's going to be like a little resistant to that at first. But if you mix it enough, it'll come together. So that's why kneading is like a little bit more work, but it's going to be better than a hand mixer for sure. That'll probably get annoying. You can give it a shot. I haven't tried it, but I recommend just using a mixer or your hands and some almond flour to make sure it doesn't stick. I'm going to scrape this off and then I'll show you guys. I'm just going to yank this off the paddle actually. I might even throw this on for one more turn, but I can do that afterwards. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to do it right now so I can show you how I put it to proof. That's all it is. So I'm sure, did it seem like such a daunting recipe to you guys? And then now you're watching it, you're like, oh, it's literally one more step than only dough. And oh my God, the payout, the difference in this bread. You know how you know I love you guys? I could have an OCD freak out about having shit all over my hands, which is something I do not jive well with. But I'm not. I'm going to keep going and pretend that's not bothering me. So you're just going to take your spatch, scrape it down into the middle like a ball, kind of press it together because it might be a little soft. There you have it. To proof it, you're just going to, Nick put my plastic wrap away. But to proof it, you're just going to put plastic wrap tightly on the top. And then as it puffs up, you're going to see it should, like the top surface should be taut. You should be able to like play drum on it a little bit. And that's how you know it's done proofing. I put a towel over it as it proofs because the dark helps the yeast to grow faster. Think of just like in general, you know how mold grows, if it's like damp, if it's dark, things like that. Same thing with yeast, except it's not mold that's growing, it's just yeast. Sounds gross, but it's delicious. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our proofed dough. Nice and fluffy. And I'm going to try and make this as evenly as possible, I'm going to cut it in half. Cut that into quarters. Cut it down again. To at least have like a guide. Then take each little quarter, roll into a ball, and there you go. I did not cut some of these evenly, but it is what it is. Should I be a hand model, guys? My hand's dainty. No. Do you friggin' see how easy this is, though? Like, you can definitely do this. I like to kind of stagger them. So I'm going to take my egg wash. This is that pro tip I mentioned. I didn't give to everyone in the Pudge page, but you're going to brush the tops of these. Well, all around, really. Now, if you can try and find like a dark, warm place to put them in, that's great. What you could do is you can turn on your oven for like 2 minutes and then turn it off and then put it in there. But I have my oven preheating already. So what I'm going to do is turn off the lights over there and just hope that that's enough because my oven's hot, too hot. And then I'll set that other bread. No reason you should be staring there. I'll set the other bread to proof. I will roll that out for you guys and I will show you guys pictures. Now, once these are done kind of fluffing up a bit more, proof is the term for letting the yeast rise, letting it get puffy. So once these get a little bit more puffy and the egg wash that I put on them has dried off, I'm going to reapply the egg wash, maybe salt them, put some onion powder, and then I'm going to pop them in the oven for about 20 minutes or until they're very, very golden brown. This is the yeast is kind of finicky because we don't have the structure of the flour. So I say 20 minutes, but you want to keep an eye on it if it gets too dark or if it looks doughy after 20 minutes. Kind of, be a judge of that. And if you want to send me a picture to see what I think on how done it is, that's totally cool. So I think, this week stress is so high from everything that's going on. And I think this week I'm just going to be focused on helping you guys out as much as possible in terms of practicality. So I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of hacks. I'm working on that 14-day plan that I was telling some of you about. My hope is to have that finished this week because I'm always home. But, I have Nick to help me, so I can definitely get more of that done. If you need anything, do not hesitate to text me. If you're freaking out, still text me because I want to help you, feel a little bit better. I'm going to be giving you guys as much practical advice as I can to help you bulk prep and kind of get through this shitstorm. But I want to stress it again. If you need anything, do not hesitate to text. Those of you who are my text-only clients, for the sake of what's going on, I'm offering you 30-minute free call. You have to book it with Olivia, though. Okay? 30-minute free call, even to my text-only clients. And all of you guys as normal, for an emergency like freak out for Corona. So if that's getting the best of you, if you want to discuss it, whatever the case may be, set it up with Olivia. It is gratis. It is on me. And let me know how I can support you and help you guys out. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave them in the comments here, and I will get to all of them. I promise. I hope that this was like a nice, fun little break in all of the seriousness and all of the craziness and scariness. I am here with you guys. I'm rooting for all of you. We will get through this together. We will be on the other side of this, okay? So, I'm going to go bake my buns, fluff my buns, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.